Hello, this is the Watchdog and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Sanda 6016. Let's start with the wrist check. I'm wearing a Pagani Design PD 1762 with an NH34 movement. And Grogu is wearing my Laogashi 1818. Grogu said 3PO was quite upset. Boba Fett hired him to run his new coffee shop in Mos Eisley called Jabba the Hutt because he heard that 3PO is quite the bean counter. On the first day of opening, Boba Fett fired him because the line was a mile long and no one was getting their coffee. 3PO said, "Don't blame me. I was counting the coffee beans as fast as I could." Alright, let's take a look at the watch. The watch did not come in a box because $12 watches normally don't. But it did have a hang tag in case you thought it was a fake Sanda. I do not buy watches to roast, and this Sanda was no exception. Recently, a reviewer roasted a similarly shaped Sanda saying, "Why buy a $30 Sanda when you can buy the real thing for $100? But the Sanda in question was a metal case, and a metal case Casio oak is $200. And this plastic one I'm reviewing is $12, so 12 versus 100 is a bit more difference in price than 30 versus 100. And also, at the time of this review, you can pick up the metal case Sanda for $21. So 21 versus 200 is more of a comparison for the roasted one. Of course, for $12, you're not getting a G-Shock's ruggedness. You only get 50 meters water resistance instead of 200. And if you were to drop this from 10 meters onto hard concrete, you will have a shattered mess on your hands. But still, for less than the price of a F91W, you are still getting a fully featured digital analog watch with synchronized analog hands. I like this watch and I don't see any need to roast it. Depending on which store you choose, there are 8 different colorways and combinations, including a white, pink, or matcha green if you don't want the more traditional black. I chose the black on black because I like the subtleness. The watch is 42 millimeters if you measure at the flats of the bezel. The bezel is a little bit smaller than the case though, so it is a hair bigger. It's 47.9 millimeters lug to lug. It's 15.2 millimeters thick. It really doesn't look that thick, but yeah, it's a little thick. The lug width does not apply because it's an integrated strap, but it's 26 millimeters where the strap meets the case. And only weighs 46 grams on the supplied resin strap. The bezel, believe it or not, is actually round. And then it's got these scallops that make it look like an octagon. So I don't know if the Casio oak does that or not. I've never owned one. So I don't know if that's different or not. But I mean, it looks like an octagon. Then on the bezel, it has just the writing for what the pushers do. And then the dial, we have the Sanda name up top. And no mention of water. Oh yeah, it says WR5 bar, so 50 meters water resistance. Then there's a chapter ring that has the minute markers. And this being a digital analog, we have loomed hands, but no running second hand. And the hands are synchronized with the digital display. For example, if I want to set it to a later hour, then I just keep doing that, and then I'll go ahead and set it to 6. And as you can see, the hands move. So that's kind of cool for a $12 watch. A lot of these cheap digital analogs, you basically have a crown that does the hands and the pushers does the digital. Rarely do you have one that does both. Then the digital display, we have the day of the week here. Now this is kind of different than the more expensive $21 Sanda with the metal case, because that has the dial that points to the days, which is more similar to the real Casio. So looky here, you just push this button, it switches from day of the week to month and day. So that's nice too. You don't get that with the dial there. Then the digital display, you have the time and the seconds. You have the PM indicator. There's also an option for a 24-hour time. I prefer to keep it on normal time. Then if you look really close here, there's a little thing that says DST, and then there's a little marker there that's for daylight savings time. And yes, I'm in daylight savings time right now. Then this is a fully featured watch. Hit the mode button again, and then you have the second time. Now the second time is completely independent of the hands, and you can't have separate minutes, but you can set the different time zones by the airport codes. So right now it's set to LAX. Hit it again, then it's Denver, Chicago, New York City, etc. Then each one also, you can set whether or not it's on daylight savings time or not. All you have to do is hold the reset button for about 3 seconds, and then it toggles between daylight savings time or not. So you could actually have your home time zone here and have it not on daylight savings if you actually wanted to. Then you hit the mode button again. That goes to the timer. I'm not going to show you how to use it. Then we go to the stopwatch. And then we go to the alarm. And then H set, that stands for handset. In case your hands are not synchronized with the time, you can set that. Hopefully you don't have to. I did not have to, but when I was messing with it, I got the hands out of sync, and so I did have to set them. And it's kind of a pain because the hands only go in one direction. And if you go too far forward, you have to go all the way around. And so you click it once. Well, you put it in set mode. And then once you're in set mode, when you hit the start button here, it will move the minute hand, the 20-second jump, just one time. And if you hold it down for about 3 seconds, it will start going on its own a little bit faster. But once again, though, if you ever go too far, you have to make the full 12-hour lap. Then instead of crowns, we have the 4 pushers. The pushers, though, they're kind of short. And they're kind of a pain to use because you gotta really get your thumb in between the plastic here. Like, I want to turn on the light right now. And it's just sometimes if you do it straight on, you can sometimes miss. So yeah, I wish they stuck out more. As you can see too, this has a proper backlight, unlike the Skami I did that had a light that shone on the dial, which made it really hard to read the digital display. Then the crystal is plastic, it's not glass. So now I don't know if it's just plain plastic or if it's acrylic. So if you scratch it, I don't know if you can buff it out with some polywatch or not. I have not scratched this yet, so I don't know. Then the case is plastic or resin or whatever, and it's a nice case. It's shaped properly. It's not any thicker than it needs to be. The case back, though, kind of sticks up a lot, so I wonder if that's responsible for a lot of the thickness. And the case back is stainless steel, and it's held down by 4 screws, which is typical of a plastic watch. And then it says stainless steel back, water resistance 5 ATM, and then gives the model number 6016. And I'm not sure what the movement is. It's a different movement than that Skami or the $21 version of this Sanda is, because that one actually has a dial for the day. Plus, this one seems that the other one, the Skami one that I was using, seems to have a positive display, and this one has a negative. And there was not a positive display option for this Sanda watch, so I don't know if this movement only comes in negative. I kind of prefer positive to negative, but it's not a big deal. It's still quite impressive though to have a watch that's $12 with a movement that has synchronized hands. Then the strap is resin. It's very similar to a Casio strap. So it's definitely not silicone. It's not all slick and sticky and squishy. And it has a plastic keeper that's fully floating. There's no little nibs to keep it in place. And unlike Casio in this price range, which would have a plastic buckle, this one has a stainless steel buckle. See, stainless steel. So that's kind of nice. And it's also, this strap has the little slots to help sweat. And it's also got this to help it flex a little bit. Of course, this is a 47-gram watch. You're not going to wear it tight unless you like it tight. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. I think it looks nice. It wears nice. It's nice and flat. Now, I only have 3 notches left though, so 8 1/4 is about the best you're going to do. And I don't know if you'll be able to find a different strap for this or not. Here we are in the Lume room. This watch doesn't really need Lume since it has a backlight, but since they Lume the hands, we will go ahead and test it anyway. As we speed up the time, we see that the hands aren't doing too bad for the price. Better than what I was expecting, so I would rate it at least so-so. I have seen worse on much more expensive watches. What I like about this watch? Well, you're getting a fully featured digital analog with synchronized hands for $12. It looks and wears real nice. And the hand loom really isn't bad considering that it's a $12 watch and it doesn't really need hand loom since it has a backlight. What are my gripes and groans? The pushers are just a little short. It could use a little bit longer strap considering that this is integrated and you can't change it easily. And I would prefer a positive display option. It seems to only have negative as a choice. Do I recommend this watch? Yes, it is a $12 little wonder that looks and wears great. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this watch and might just buy one of the colored ones for fun. I really don't think that roast was fair. I think it's a pretty good watch for the money. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Sanda 6016 digital analog. And I will be back with another review, more than likely that Pagani design I'm wearing right now. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.